we're going to begin the chapter of, I think it's 45. I feel like we've done so much, but we can't fall behind. So very interesting topic in today's Tanya. I'll try to give an overview a little bit before. Try to join me here as I go through these interesting ideas. I remember learning this with you guys last year, in which I started getting some clarity in these ideas myself. So Kabbalistically, there are 10 energies in the 10 spheres that make up the 10 energies of how the world and everything was created. And we call them Chesed, kindness is the first one, Gevura, strength and severity is the second one, and Tiferes, beauty is the third one. Now, if you're counting Spheras HaOmer, you'll be doing there's 49 days, it's 7 weeks of 7, and that's how we get to 49 days. And we were supposed to work on ourselves actually on the 7 different emotions that we have. And it's 7 within 7. So it's 7 times 7 is 49. And we work on these different emotions every single day. But today I'm going to discuss with you what are these 3 emotions. We really want to understand what Tiferes is, what beauty is. But to understand what beauty is, I have to explain to you what kindness and severity means. It's very interesting understand simply physically the makeup of our emotions and how they are. Chesed, kindness, is really giving. It's the emotion of giving. Now, I want to say that the emotion of giving is not that I'm thinking about you and you need, and therefore I'm going to give you. It's actually could be very selfish. I like to give. At times, giving could not be good. My example that I think I thought of last time when I was teaching this class is that if the rabbi likes to speak and he gives and gives and gives, and everybody falls asleep within a half hour into the speech and he's still going for another 2 hours, we got a problem. We got a guy who's giving too much. Today, as I was learning this class, I was thinking maybe that's with the stimulus. Maybe if the government likes to just give and give, it might be very unhealthy for some people if someone's too giving. Just an example. We don't have to get into politics. We could just make it a little relevant. But you could argue that giving could be unhealthy. And why is that? Because sometimes if you're giving to someone who, giving could be an emotion of someone who doesn't need. Giving could be an emotion of it's not about what the person needs. It's about, do I like to give? And there are many people that like to give. And sometimes my example is, it could be, I'm not saying it has to be unhealthy, but it could actually be very unhealthy. A parent who just gives to their kid and never teaches them what, because it doesn't think about what does my kid need, but just I like to give, could actually grow up with a spoiled brat, a very unhealthy child because of their giving. So giving is actually, is an emotion that comes from you that you want to give. That is like the extreme, I'm talking about extreme. We're going to extremes here. I'm talking about extreme sense of giving. Because I want to get to the middle. I want to go to the opposite side. Then there are people who could be the opposite extreme. So that this is one extreme. This is, remember I said it's 7 of 7. Giving and giving is a person that just gives and gives and gives and gives, and it could be very unhealthy. Let's go to the opposite extreme now. Gvura, strength, severity. Unless you deserve it, unless you worked for it, it could be like the opposite. Don't give them a penny. They didn't do exactly what they were supposed to do. The guy did a job and he did not do every detail, the last drop. I'm not paying anything for the job that he did because he doesn't deserve it. Right? It could be the opposite side. You say, why should I give poor people money who need help? They should have worked for it. Go get a job. And raising your kids too like that, I also could only imagine what will happen with the children who are raised in such a home, which there's no kindness and giving shown, no kindness shown. They're both unhealthy in either extreme. By the way, we say, we're going to see in Tanya tomorrow, Abraham was the essence of giving. He loved to give. He had his tent. He opened up. He loved as a person to give. By the way, he had one child who was a holy tzaddik, Yitzchak, and he had another child who was a problem. Isaac, this child grew up maybe in that home and went the opposite way. He says, I'm not giving. I see what damage it does, whatever. I don't know if that's what he said. But he had one child who was Yaakov, was a very big tzaddik, and another child who was a problem. Yaakov is not chesed and not gevura, not kindness and not severity, but he's something which we call tiferes. And a good way of explaining that is compassion. Why? Compassion is not actually a third character, not kindness and not severity, but actually it's a hybrid, talking about hybrids today, right? Shatness, all those things. It's a hybrid of kindness and severity. It's a hybrid of kindness and severity. Um, and in today's Tanya class, because we're talking about the different kinds of love, of ways to love Hashem, compassion sometimes will get you where your emotions couldn't get to love. And I think in children, we could see this example. So let's say sometimes, as parents, I could talk about like, which I feel like I see this right away. There'll be a kid who's making trouble, who's being not nice to his siblings, whatever. And as a parent, you could get very upset. Why is your kid acting this way? Ira doesn't have these problems with his kids, but I do sometimes. It helped me have this. So one of the kids is really being mean to the other kids. And I, as a parent, you'll be very upset at that child. You're torturing your other siblings. But let me tell you something that'll happen. If you see another kid then come who's much meaner and be mean to that kid, you know what's going to happen? You'll feel really bad for the kid and you'll have compassion and you'll feel that strong sense of love, which you might not have been in touch with before. So what I want to say is that compassion can bring you to love when you maybe couldn't get there before. So compassion is, let me explain. Why is compassion a mixture, a hybrid of giving and not giving, of kindness and severity? Because compassion is a middle ground. It says, look, I don't want to just give for the sake of giving. I'm not just giving for no reason. I'm going to look at you. It does, in a sense, what severity does. Severity says you deserve it. I'm going to look at you. But I'm going to look at you and say, you didn't do a perfect job, right? But I'm going to give you anyway because you work so hard. So it's kind of like a middle ground. So compassion is not going to say, okay, you didn't do a good job perfectly. I'm not going to give you anything. But it looks at the child and says, you know what? I said that if you don't do your homework, you're going to miss the grand trip to whatever. But compassion will say, look, I'm going to help you do your homework. I'll find a way to make it work that you're not going to have to deal with the ultimate severity, of like the teacher, the kid, I think I heard maybe Rabbi Tab said this, or I don't know where I heard this a while ago, is like the kid tells the mother for an ice cream. The mother's being homeschooling the kid during Corona, like he's homeschooling the kid and says, if you don't finish your homework, you're not getting the ice cream, which we're supposed to have tonight. And the kid says, but mom, and the mom gives in, like what with those eyes, whatever, and gives in. So that's called kind of compassion. It's a mixture between the two. So that is it. That's that is what Tiferes is. That is what compassion is. It's a mixture of kindness and severity, but really it awakens the love that you might not have felt otherwise. How does this fit into Tanya? How do we have compassion here? What is the compassion? Because we're trying to love Hashem. And he says that we really need to have compassion on God. Why do we? So it's another way, right? We spoke about it, one way to love Hashem, feel like a child to a father, or feel that God is your life and you love yourself, right? Now he's going to say that awakening to help you get these emotions, if you need it, is to have mercy on Hashem. Why do you have mercy on God? It's because God, the godliness that's in you, the soul that's in you, came from a very holy high place connected to Hashem before it came down, which it was in basking in the greatness of God. And then God took the soul and stuck it into you, a person which is full of all kinds of crazy ideas and bad emotions and negative, and it has zero control over its destiny. It's literally a slave. It's literally enslaved inside the person and without an option to decide what it wants, and literally has to go along with the body in wherever it's going. And all the crazy thoughts and emotional things he's thinking, he's stuck inside the body, coming from the holiest place to such a low place. And then when the body sins, he takes the godliness with him and sins. We're trying to arouse and awaken compassion to Hashem. That's the spark of God that's within you. And by arousing that compassion, it can bring you back to love to Hashem. Let's see the Tanya, very interesting Tanya class, and we'll discuss this over the next couple of days. But let us get to today's the Tanya. We're holding again. We're a few days behind, so we're just going to go back to, I believe it is Monday. This week, Monday, we're just like 3-4 days behind. We'll go back to the Tanya and we'll discuss. It's a short Tanya, and we'll leave it at that. I know it's already 1:30, but so many interesting stuff to discuss. The beginning of chapter 45. Okay. Okay. There's another straightforward way for a man to erase the emotion and the passion that we want to raise. To keep the Torah and mitzvahs for the sake of Hashem, right? We're trying to arouse emotion, we're trying to arouse passion. It's not always so easy. We want to get you in the frame of mind that your passion is backing your actions. You're not just a dry person serving Hashem because that's what you got to do, but we want to get the emotion, your heart involved. How do you use it? To using the character of Jacob, of Yaakov, our father, all of Shalom, may peace be on him. Midas harachamim, which was the character known as mercy, not kindness, not severity, but mercy. By the way, I'll give an example from Stephen Covey's book that I heard a while ago. Great book. I think it's called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He writes there that, and this is a great example in this compassion idea. This guy was on a train, and all his kids were running around wild on the train. And there's a guy, who's looking at the father letting his kids run around, and he's getting really angry. He's getting really upset at the guy. Chutzpah, why doesn't he talk to his kids? Why doesn't he put them in their place? Why doesn't he settle them down? It's so crazy. What an irresponsible father. Maybe he's saying, why did he have these kids? This guy shouldn't be having kids. Should call Dyfus on him, right? All the good stuff. And he finally goes over to the guy and says, what's wrong with you? Talk to your kids. And he says, I'm really sorry, but we're coming from their mother's funeral. We're on the way back from their mother's funeral, and I can't handle it anymore. And you can imagine, what does Stephen Covey call it? A paradigm shift, right? He calls it a change. All of a sudden, 360, this guy he was really angry at before, the compassion changed everything. So compassion could help like lower down the expectations and change your perspective on something. So we're trying to get compassion here. That's what we're trying to do. So you're trying to meditate. You're trying to get emotions to Hashem, good, strong emotions to be the engine of your mitzvahs. So first, meditate on the mercy you need to have for Hashem. That's one method that will jog your heart, waken your heart to love Hashem. It will bring you to the love that we're trying to get to. What should you have Rahmanis for? What should you have mercy on? The spark of God that's in your soul. It came down from its very high place. What was its high place? It was the source of life, holiness. Ein Sof Baruch Hu, the infinite God that was connected to Hashem, that in the world it lived in. Another example I thought of was learning this, like Olmert. We know Prime Minister Olmert was put in jail. Like a guy to go from prime minister to jail, it's the worst thing. You have mercy on such a person. The soul was in the source of life. God who fills all the world, V'seviv Kol Almin, and surrounds, which means Hashem's intimately involved with all parts of creation. That's the kind of king he is. He's a manager, CEO. He's involved in the details, not just from on top. But at the same time, Hashem is creating everything from nothing to something, which means he's kind of also external to it. And everything's nothing to him. This is the life it came from. This is the home that the soul came from. And he's forced against his will to dress in this disgusting body that's jealous, that wants disgusting things. It's forced to be in that situation. In the serpent skin, Hashem put him down and put him in this dark, this lowly jail, incarcerated place, which it has no opinion and decision to make. It's just stuck in the body. Which is totally as far as it could be from Hashem. Our world is the lowest of all worlds, the most darkest, unholy world. Where did it get to go? To the lowest of all places. So he's now stuck, I think like Afghanistan, whatever, like the most challenging place in the world. That's where he was sent, from the highest place to the lowest place. It was stuck in there against its will, handicapped to be stuck in this body. And worse than that, not just did he go there, you know what this body did since I got into this body, into the serpent skin? You know what sins and horrible things this has done? What gossip it spoke about other people, what terrible things it did? The king is locked up, enslaved, tied and locked up, being in this jail. Right? I just gave an example when God, it's very sad to see when a powerful person goes to jail. It's sad, it's hard to see. Unless you don't like that political party, whatever. But in general, it's a hard thing to see. You feel mercy for the person. Here, it's like in the gutter. The king is in the gutter. But what's the gutter? The gutter is your mind. It's full of schmutz. All the things it's watching on TV and all the things it's talking about. And Hashem is there in the mind with all the disgusting things that the person's thinking about. He brings an example. Jacob is like a rope of inheritance. What does that mean? Like a rope, I guess, like your tefillin, if your tefillin, someone asked me a question the other day, I think I brought it up here, when your tefillin's on the floor, even though it's only the straps on the floor, it's like it's still part of your tefillin, and it's like your tefillin, God forbid, is on the floor when the straps hit the floor. So the soul is like one end of the rope, but Hashem is the other end of the rope. So all the disgusting things that the body's going, it's taking the bottom of the rope with it, but in essence, he's taking Hashem with it too. When you pull one end of the rope, guess what? The other of the rope comes too. And this, my friends, is the secret, or the meaning, the depth of the exile of the Shekhinah. So we're not just in exile. Wherever we go, we take Hashem with us to whatever area we go. And these emotions, as we're going to continue learning in Tanya, start to jog your heart and start meditating on feeling bad for Hashem, which will jog, as I said, example of a child. That sometimes the child, you'll be upset at him, but then all of a sudden he'll fall and you'll forget all the things you were upset. Your mercy is awakened and the love comes back. So even a Jew that's having a very hard time loving Hashem, this could be a method, as we're going to discuss in this chapter of Tanya, continue discussing, in order to get you back in love with Hashem. That is the end of today's Tanya. Any questions or comments before we close up shop? All right, we'll leave it at that. A lot of stuff to meditate on. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Hopefully you'll join us tonight for a special lecture. Go online and just register, and we will see you there. Have an amazing day. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.